Welcome to the overview of the Fully Online Learning Community Survey, or FOLCS. You will find that survey in the Grex dashboard. So in this particular instance, I'm using this version, and you will find a link to a similar version is provided to you as use within prior learning assessment and also for determination of the kind of skill level that you actually have for working within a learning community. The Fully Online Learning Community Survey is built around a model, and if you went to the EI Lab/Fully Online Learning Community page, you would actually find a brief video about that particular model, and you can watch that. It plays by itself as soon as you click on the play button, or you can actually go to the YouTube channel and watch it there. Here's a depiction of the model itself. It again has four what we call dimensions to it, and those dimensions are social presence, cognitive presence, collaborative learning, and digital space. Social presence is the degree of awareness, feeling, perception, or reaction to another person in an interactive online setting. Or the way that I like to think about it, social presence is presenting yourself as a human being with all of the connotations that brings. So all of what it means to actually be human into your learning community. Cognitive presence is similar to that, but it's about your thinking. So cognitive talks about cognating, or to think. And as a consequence of that, cognitive presence is a thoughtful, reflective, and analytic process that directs quality and quantity of critical thinking, collaborative problem solving, and construction of meaning. Or if you want to think of it this way, presenting yourself as a thinking human being as compared to the social presence. Collaborative learning is sort of the area where you actually bring those together. So acting in a socially present way and a cognitively present way, how do you interact with each other? So collaborative learning is defined as the construction of shared understandings based on conversations, concepts, real-world problems, and experiences, resulting in changes in your thinking about your thinking, or metacognition, metacognitive patterns. So this is working in collaboration with others so that you are building your understandings of what is meant by processes and concepts that you have. Finally, we have the digital space. The digital space is defined as a co-created set of tools that we can actually use. So these are tools that are brought together by members of the community. So people who are taking a look at the kinds of tools that you can actually make use of for learning kinds of practices, bringing those to the attention of other people within the community, and then making use of those tools. So some of the tools that you will find that are presented from the instructional designers, the people who put the micro-credentials together, include Padlet, include Particify, include Canvas even. So Canvas is the learning management system that the university uses to provide access to these pieces. But again, it becomes a set of tools that we can make use of. So that is the model. And then what we've done with that is turned it into a survey so we can actually take a look at the kinds of skills. So here's the Fully Online Learning Community model as a survey, or FOLCS. There it is right there. And we can then take a look at what does that survey look like and what is the output that you can actually have from that survey. So here's an example of that particular piece, and I'm going to back up just a little bit so that you get a better sense of how do we get there. So this is, again, Grex, and I'm looking at the pilot test group. And we're going to be looking specifically at the Fully Online Learning Community Survey. To actually respond to the survey, we click on the Add New Response, and it opens up the survey, and it looks like this. First of all, at the top with the red star, again, we have an action or a set of actions that you are actually going to be responding to. So I facilitate cross-cultural sharing with others. So you'd actually have to think about, so what does that mean? And choose a response in terms of how often do you do that, or frequency of use. Never, a few times a year, a few times a month, a few times a week, and daily. You'll notice that these are exactly the same choices that are available in the Digital Competency Profiler. So we have used the same concepts and the same drop-down menus across both of those, but this particular activity is making use of different kinds of skills than the ones that we were talking about in terms of the Digital Competency the DCP. We'll also take a look at confidence of use. So do not know how to use not confident, somewhat confident, confident, and very confident. And again, you make choices depending upon your own response or how often you do this kind of activity. And then you go on to the next question. Inside the set of questions, there are 26 items, and then there are 3 items that are like this particular piece. And it says, for this item only, please select a few times a week response in the frequency of use. So we go to a few times a week, and somewhat confident can solve some problems. Somewhat confident can solve some problems in the confidence of use dropdown. And what we're really trying to do here is check that each of the questions is being read very carefully and responded to in appropriate ways. So in this particular case, it's actually a check item telling you what it is that we're looking for, so we can ascertain, we can tell whether you have read the item carefully. There are 3 of these randomly distributed throughout the additional 26 items. So a total of 29 times that you'll actually have to press next. I use synchronous tools, so real-time communication like audio, video conferencing, or text chat to create learning spaces. So how often do you do that? And how confident are you of doing that? And moving on to next. If you don't do it, then you can respond in that kind of way as well. And again, you'd go through all of these questions until you were finished. Going back to the Grecs then, again, these are going to be recorded in the submission section. So we'll then look for when did we complete the FOLCS. It will be recorded in terms of the graph, and we can click on the graph, and it'll open up a very similar kind of response that we got to the Digital Competency Profiler, the DCP. In this particular instance, we have, again, an Astra plot. So you see the same circular plot, and you see that it is active, giving you a display of how much competence, that is a combination of both frequency and confidence, do you have in each of the 4 orders. And again, you'll see a distribution of where your particular line that was provided here. So a line of 4 is given on the graph as a 4 as well, with the orange line labeled A. And you'll also see the distribution of all others who have completed this graph as well. And the same thing is for each of the 4 orders that you actually have, or 4 dimensions that you have in the model itself. And those are given here. And then finally, a matrix of responses giving you information about those 4 dimensions. So cognitive presence is going to be, again, a suggestion of what it means to have a score of 3.05 and what you can do to actually enhance those skills or develop them as you're going along. And again, those interpretations in white are given for each of the 4 dimensions, and a suggestion for how to improve in each of those 4 dimensions is given in the yellow section. Again, you can do if you wanted to include this in your portfolio that you are collecting at the end of the micro credentials. You could do a right click on the actual screen itself and click on the print. Choose Microsoft Print to PDF rather than to a printer, and that will give you the opportunity to actually create a file, a PDF file, a portable document format file that you can then put on your desktop. So we put the DCP version earlier, and now we can actually put FOLCS, and I'm going to label it version 1. The first time that I've done it for this particular purpose, and now it becomes a file that I can navigate to on my desktop. So if I go to the desktop and find the FOLCS version 1, it's there, and then all I need to do is double click on it, assuming that I have Adobe Acrobat Reader installed on my machine. And it then opens, and then I can scroll through each of the sections. Anyways, that's how to create a record of your materials from your responses from the FOLCS. Basically, it's the same process for all of the feedback that you get for any of the surveys that can be found in the grants. And that brings us to the conclusion of an overview of the Fully Online Learning Community Survey, or FOLCS, that we have been just briefly describing.